gaze at the stars and wonder, what lies beyond the horizon? What lies beyond our own shores? Our generation is fortunate enough to know some of the answers to that question. This is the story of our voyage into space. Our first steps into the final frontier began during World War II, where Germany designed experimental V-2 rockets. In 1944, the V-2 became the first man-made object to reach outer space. This technology was eventually adapted by both the United States and Soviet Union in their space programs. In October of 1957, the USSR launched Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. This 200-pound sphere orbited around the Earth and broadcast a repeated telemetric signal that served as a reminder of its significance to mankind. In January of 1958, the United States launched its first artificial satellite in the form of Explorer 1. On April 12, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became both the first human in space and the first one to orbit the Earth. In May 1961, American astronaut Alan Shepard became the first of his countrymen to travel to space. He was followed in February of 1962 by John Glenn, who became the first American to orbit the Earth. The success of the Soviet space program frightened many Americans who felt like their nation was falling behind in the space race. In 1961, U.S. President John F. Kennedy made a promise to the world.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space.
On July 16, 1969, the United States launched Apollo 11 in what would become one of the most symbolic moments of human history. 4 days later, Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon and spoke his famous words.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
The success of the mission led to 6 other lunar voyages throughout the following decade. The 1970s also saw the launch of the Voyager missions. Designed to explore the outer planets, the probes Voyager 1 and 2 explored Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They have recently left the solar system and traveled into interstellar space, where they gather data even today. The Soviet space station Salyut and the American Skylab allowed astronauts to remain in space for extended periods of time, as they conducted scientific experiments throughout the decade. On April 12, 1981, the Space Shuttle Columbia was launched for the first time. The vehicle was a semi-reusable spacecraft that was expected to lower the cost of space travel.
And liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
On January 28, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger experienced a disaster which marked the first moment of tragedy for the program. Shortly after liftoff, the Challenger broke apart and all 7 crew members perished. This would be followed by a second disaster on February 1, 2003, when Columbia disintegrated upon re-entry. The 1990s were marked by the beginning of construction of the International Space Station. This was a joint venture between the United States, Russia, Canada, Japan, and 10 European nations. The station orbits the Earth today and is observable with the naked eye as the brightest object in the sky after the Sun and the Moon. In June 2003, the United States launched the Spirit and Opportunity rovers to explore the surface of Mars. Spirit ceased to function in 2010, but Opportunity was joined by the Curiosity rover in 2012. Both continue to map the Martian surface today. The most recent advancements in space travel have come in the form of privatization of the industry. Corporations are attempting to make spaceflight more economical by developing completely reusable launch methods. In November of 2015, the firm Blue Origin successfully landed its rocket from low suborbital space. Another corporation, SpaceX, landed a first-stage rocket from a higher altitude in December of 2015, with both companies experiencing repeated success. The future of space travel is bright. The private industry is bringing efficiency and automation, just as space agencies continue to push for more ambitious agendas. Humanity's journey into space has been a difficult voyage. Nevertheless, we as explorers are destined to keep searching the final frontier.